Do you know why it's so hard to change in a relationship? Why you can't get your spouse to make the changes that you're really looking for? In the beginning of a relationship, things are amazing. And I want to give you an analogy that it's like you're on an amazing cruise ship. You can have all of the fun and food that you can handle, and it's amazing for about the first 6 months or a year. Think about it. If you're on a cruise ship for that long, you are going to want to get off and you'll want to explore other things on your own. Now you find though you're not in the situation that you want to be in. You're in this tiny rowboat and maybe you're wondering why you're doing all of the rowing all by yourself instead of being on a better ship with your partner. Hi there, I'm Jessica Myers Adams, and I want to share with you why it's so hard to make changes in relationships and why so many people end up doing more than their fair share. A lot of partners that I talk to wish their spouse would take some responsibility. They wish they didn't feel like they were the only ones who care. And if you watch this video until the end, I'm actually going to give you some suggestions about how you can get out of this little rowboat and start sharing the duty of being on an ocean ship liner with your partner. So the sad truth is that about 69% of fights are perpetual. John Gottman says that couples end up fighting over the same thing over and over again. And actually, this doesn't surprise me based on the principle I'm going to tell you in just 1 minute. The truth is that people end up doing what feels comfortable for them. And the universal principle comes from systems theory, and it says that we like to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis means that we like to do what we've always done. And so in our family, if we don't talk about things, then in our new relationship, we're probably not going to talk about things either. And so there's this resistance to do something that we haven't done. It's basically we become habitual in the way that we do things. And what we know from this research that comes from systems theory in relationships, we'll liken it to a different metaphor in that there is an emotional thermometer in the relationship. And maybe there's even a talking thermometer, but that's probably pretty close to the emotional one. Because if you're a person who really wants to talk about things and you want to make sure that they get dealt with right now, then you're actually probably are raising the temperature in your relationship and you didn't even know that you might be part of the problem. Because what your spouse is doing is responding not only to their own internal thermometer, but they're responding to the relationship thermometer as well. And so if both of those things are tending to be really high, your partner is going to be even more avoidant than you wish they were to begin with, right? And so what we have to understand here is that there is actually a battle within ourselves. Whenever we want to change, it's going to be met with our own resistance because we like to keep the status quo also. Think about it. And for me, I'm a person who likes to talk about things when they happen. And for me not to talk about things is actually really difficult. And so that's the first battle that I would have to deal with is my own inner self in order to change the relationship. The same thing is actually happening with your spouse. So there are wars going on two fronts. And so I told you at the beginning of this that I would give you some strategies and some ways that you could start to change the relationship. But it's going to be really challenging because, as I mentioned, you're going to have to deal with your own inner battle. So, this two-step strategy for making changes, and I actually will even change I'll add one more thing first, is that you can't really change a partner by going after them because as we just discussed that when you try to get your partner to change their temperature is going to go up. Now you might be able to get your partner to temporarily do things that they wouldn't normally do. I think of this as Sisyphus rolling that giant boulder up the hill. And you think about this might be you getting your partner, you're really organized and you're trying to get him to be organized. That might work for a small time as you're pushing the boulder up the mountain, but it's probably going to come back down. A better strategy is this two-step strategy. The first is make a conscious choice that you want to be part of this change. And you're going to have to do some inner examining. You're going to have to ask yourself, what are you willing to do? What discomfort are you willing to sacrifice in order to make the change? Because as two things that don't normally mix, Think about this. Your partner and you have two different substances. Your oil and he's or she is water. And so if you mix those up, they might temporarily emulsify. And emulsify is an agent we use in cooking that allows two things that don't normally mix to be able to mix. Kind of like in the beginning of our relationship, we had a magic emulsifier, a magic wand. It's called falling in love, that allowed us to achieve this. Well, we don't have that magic wand anymore. And so, what we're going to really need to do is appreciate the differences between the two of us and do some examining of our inner self. The second thing then is to make a commitment to not do some of the things that you would normally do. And this isn't going to immediately produce the change. But as one thing changes, the other thing will change. And I can hear a lot of people saying, well, I've tried, I have done nothing. Well, the internal thermometer might have gone down for a little bit of time, but it didn't go down long enough. So I have lots of other tips on how to do this, but the first thing is these two steps is really making a choice to do it and then examining ourselves, because if you want to straighten out the relationship, then you're going to actually have to work on yourself. And this is what I tell all of the clients that I work with. It starts with us, and it definitely influences the whole system.